Here's the hard truth. Most beginner riders don't crash because they're reckless. They crash because they're predictable. Not to other drivers, to themselves. They ride with the same habits, the same fears, the same assumptions, and they never break them. So today we're not just talking about the dumb beginner stuff like stalling at red lights or forgetting your kickstand. We're going after the sneaky habits, the ones that look harmless but secretly hold you back. If you want to actually level up this year, you gotta break the comfort zone, break the myths, break the habits. Because riding safe isn't about staying slow, it's about riding smart. Let's get into it. Number 1. Riding like you're invisible. In the wrong way. You've probably heard the saying, ride like you're invisible. And yeah, it's good advice. Assuming drivers don't see you is a safe baseline. But here's where beginners mess it up. They take it literally and turn into ghosts on the road. They ride slow, hug the curb, hesitate at intersections, and generally act like they're not even supposed to be there. That kind of passive riding doesn't make you safer. It makes you unpredictable. And nothing scares a car driver more than a motorcycle that appears timid or erratic. What you should do is ride like you're invisible, but act like you belong. That means claiming your lane when needed, being deliberate with your movements, and making yourself visible with lane positioning and timing, not noise or panic. Cars can't predict ghosts. They can predict confident, steady riders who hold their line and make it clear what they're doing. You're not prey. You're not some fragile exception on the road. You're traffic. Own your space like you mean it. Being invisible doesn't mean disappearing. It means assuming others won't save you, so you have to be the one in control. Number 2. Using the rear brake as a crutch. When you're learning, the rear brake feels like a safety net. It's smooth, gentle, and makes the bike slow down without that scary front-end dive. So naturally, a lot of beginners lean on it hard, especially in tight corners or parking lots. It becomes their comfort button. But here's the truth. Overusing the rear brake often covers up bigger problems like poor throttle control, lazy clutch work, or bad body positioning. Instead of learning how to balance with finesse, you're basically riding with training wheels. Now, the rear brake has its place. At low speeds, it's gold. Downhill descents, super useful. Mid-corner line corrections, sometimes yeah. But if your first reaction is to always stomp that pedal, especially in higher speed turns or when approaching a stop, you're creating habits that are hard to unlearn. What you want is brake balance. Get comfortable with light, progressive front brake use. Learn to control speed with throttle and clutch, not just the rear. It's about building skill, not leaning on a crutch. Once you stop using the rear like a panic switch, your confidence, control, and cornering will improve overnight. It's like riding stops being survival and starts feeling like mastery. Number 3. Never practicing corner corrections. Most beginners treat cornering like defusing a bomb. Cut the wrong wire and boom! So they pick a line, tense up, and hope for the best. No mid-course changes, no adjustments, just pure faith. But corners aren't a one-way street. You're allowed to course correct. In fact, you should. Every experienced rider knows your first line isn't always the best one. Maybe the curve tightens. Maybe you entered too wide. Maybe you spotted gravel halfway through. Being able to subtly shift your line mid-turn is what separates surviving from riding with skill. And no, it's not about panicking and jerking the bars. That's how you crash. It's about understanding how to use gentle countersteer, subtle throttle roll, and a bit of body movement to bring the bike where it needs to go. These are minor inputs that you can practice. Find a safe, familiar curve and experiment. Enter it a little differently each time. Try adding a bit of bar pressure mid-turn. Adjust your throttle and see how the bike reacts. Stay loose. Get a feel for how flexible a corner really is. Because if you think you can't correct a bad line, you'll be too scared to try. And that's when mistakes become crashes. Number 4. ignoring helmet position in turns. Every beginner hears, "Look where you want to go." It's like the first commandment of riding, but most of them misunderstand it completely. They glance into the turn with their eyes, but their helmet stays pointed straight ahead like they're watching TV. That's not looking, that's peeking. Your helmet isn't just a hat, it's a directional signal for your body. When your chin is pointed into the curve, your shoulders follow, your spine aligns, your hips shift. It sets your whole posture into motion like dominoes falling the right way. And when you don't move your head, everything stays locked, rigid, and off balance. The result? Sloppy lean angles, vague lines, and a constant feeling of, "I'm not sure if this is right." All because your helmet is still facing the gas station you passed 5 seconds ago. Feels weird at first, deliberately turning your head more than you think you need to. But if you film yourself riding and freeze frame your corner entries, you'll quickly see the truth. Most new riders look with their eyes. Skilled riders look with their entire body. So next time you take a curve, ask yourself, is my chin pointed where I want to end up? If not, you're already off the line. Number 5. Mimicking YouTube pros without understanding. It's 2025. YouTube is overflowing with moto influencers dragging their knees, hanging off like MotoGP stars, or pulling slow-speed tricks with perfect precision. So naturally, a beginner sees this and thinks, if I copy what they do, I'll ride like them. Nope. You'll ride like someone doing cosplay with a death wish. New riders mimic the visuals, the body hang, the foot position, the elbows out posture, without knowing why those techniques work or when to use them. It's like copying an Olympic swimmer's dive, but landing in the shallow end. Take knee dragging. Most new riders have no clue that pros use it not just for looks, but as a lean angle gauge on sticky tires at triple-digit speeds. On the street, you got road dust, gravel oil, and garbage. So you shift your body out, stick your knee down, and suddenly you're off balance on a lean angle your tires were never meant to hold. Or watch someone trying to clutch up wheelies because some YouTuber said, "Just give it more throttle." Now you got a guy in gym shorts looping a $14,000 bike because he skipped step 1, understanding the dynamics. Copying technique without context is the fast track to learning nothing, except maybe how to call your insurance company. Ask why before you try. Number 6. Riding the same route every time. Let's be honest, most riders, especially beginners, fall into a routine fast. Same loop, same back road, same coffee stop. It's comforting, predictable, feels safe. But guess what? That comfort zone is where your skills go to die. Riding the same route every time means you stop actually riding. You go into autopilot. You know every bump, every turn, every pothole. You're not scanning for hazards, adjusting your lines, or learning new road surfaces. You're just cruising through muscle memory like a zombie with a helmet. Every time you take a different road, especially one with a weird camber, tricky intersections, or tighter curves, you force your brain to adapt. You have to scan, react, plan. That's when real riding happens. Even doing the same road in reverse, or riding it at dusk instead of noon, changes everything. Light, shadows, traffic behavior, it all shifts. New riders often complain they're not improving, but they don't realize they've been doing a treadmill ride every weekend. Breaking that habit is one of the easiest ways to grow, fast. Because real-world improvement doesn't happen on the same 5 miles of road. It happens when your brain says, "Whoa, this is new. Pay attention." Number 7. Treating highway riding like a victory lap. For a lot of beginners, the first time they merge onto a highway feels like the final boss has been defeated. "I did it! I'm a real rider now," they say, gripping the bars like they're holding onto a live wire. And then nothing happens. They sit at 65 in the right lane, white-knuckled and frozen, too scared to pass a semi or even glance in the mirrors. It becomes a weird badge of honor, like just surviving the highway is proof of skill. But here's the thing. The highway isn't a graduation ceremony. It's not where learning ends. It's where it evolves. Because riding straight for long distances isn't hard. What's hard is doing it smoothly, confidently, and actively. That means mastering lane changes at speed, judging blind spots of other vehicles, managing wind buffeting, and learning how your bike behaves at cruising RPMs for extended periods. It also means not zoning out like you're in a car. Complacency on a highway will mess you up faster than a twisty canyon. So stop treating it like you've made it. The highway is just another class in the curriculum, and if you don't keep learning, it becomes the most dangerous one. Number 8. Avoiding U-turns and tight turns like they're optional. Somehow, tight turns are the broccoli of motorcycle training. Everyone knows they're good for you, but they avoid them like the plague after passing their test. New riders act like U-turns, figure eights, and parking lot maneuvers are just things you do to get your license. Once that card's in your wallet, it's back to wide sweeps and highway cruising. But avoiding slow speed control is one of the fastest ways to hit a skill plateau. Because tight turns aren't basic, they're foundational. It's where you learn balance, clutch finesse, throttle control, and proper body movement. If you only ever ride above 20 miles an hour, you're hiding from your weak spots. You'll know who skipped their parking lot reps the moment you need to turn around on a narrow street or squeeze into a tight gas station exit or thread through parked cars. They wobble, paddle with their feet, or worse, drop the bike in front of a crowd. Not a good look. Practicing slow speed drills isn't just about control, it builds confidence. The kind of confidence that bleeds into every other part of your riding. It's leg day for bikers. Skip it, and everyone can tell. Number 9. Assuming bigger means better too soon. There's this weird badge of honor mentality in motorcycling. If you're not on a leader bike after 6 months, you're somehow behind. Like the only way to level up is by throwing more horsepower at your insecurities. But here's the truth. Most beginners haven't even scratched the surface of what their small or mid-sized bike can do. They haven't learned how to trail brake, how to hang off properly, how to ride the edge of traction, or how to execute a perfect rev match downshift. And yet, they're already eyeing that 1000cc beast like it's the next logical step. What happens next? They trade finesse for power. Instead of developing skill, they rely on brute force, passing cars with a wrist flick, not technique. And because the bigger bike masks their sloppiness, they don't notice the holes in their riding until it's too late. The irony? The best riders I know, guys who can carve a canyon like it's butter, still ride 400s, 650s, or ancient dual sports with 40 horsepower. Because they understand that mastering a slow bike makes you a better rider. Updating too soon just hides your flaws. So don't treat displacement like a status symbol. If you haven't outgrown your current bike's potential, you haven't outgrown the bike. Number 10. Ignoring mental fatigue and overriding. One of the sneakiest beginner mistakes is thinking your body is the only thing that gets tired. You wear the right gear, hydrate, maybe stretch, but nobody talks about how riding fries your brain. And it does, fast. Riding a motorcycle demands constant mental processing. Cars around you, road conditions, engine feel, mirrors, braking points, signage, pedestrians, throttle control, wind gusts. It's sensory overload. But new riders often don't notice when their brain starts to check out. They go from laser-focused to just going through the motion. That's when mistakes creep in. A lazy swerve, forgetting your turn signal, misjudging distance, missing the car about to merge. Not because your skills are gone, but because your brain is done for the day and you didn't realize it. I've seen it happen. You ride just a little too long trying to hit one more destination and suddenly everything feels off. You're slower, but not safer. You're tense, but disconnected. That's mental fatigue, and it's dangerous. You don't have to be tired to stop. Sometimes just pulling over for 10 minutes rests everything. Listen to your head, not your ego. If your brain's fried, your reflexes are junk. And no fancy riding technique will save you if you're zoning out at 70 miles an hour. Number 11. Dismissing bike setup as advanced stuff. Most beginners treat bike setup like it's some dark art reserved for racers and YouTube gurus. I'm just a casual rider. I don't need to mess with suspension or ergonomics. And that's exactly why their wrist hurts, their back aches, or their turns feel sketchy. Here's the truth. Setup isn't about being fast. It's about being comfortable, confident, and in control. Levers too high? You'll roll your wrists weird and delay your reaction time. Foot pegs too far back? You'll struggle to shift smoothly. Handlebars too wide or narrow? Say goodbye to stable turning. Even something as simple as tire pressure, ignored by half the new riders out there, can completely change how your bike feels. A few PSI too low and your steering feels sluggish and your tires wear like crap. Too high, you lose grip and feedback. It's not magic, it's math. And preload, that's not race stuff. That's whether your bike is bouncing like a pogo stick or you're riding stable through corners. Most factory settings are for 150-pound riders. If that's not you, you're riding the wrong setup from day one. So no, bike setup isn't extra. It's the foundation. Beginners who learn it early end up better, faster, and safer than riders who just ride. Number 12. Waiting for crashes to learn from mistakes. Some riders seem to think you need to hit the pavement to earn wisdom. Like pain is the price of progress. But that's just pride talking, and it's a stupid way to learn. Smart riders, especially beginners, know that the little moments matter. That time you almost overshot a corner, that weird shimmy mid-turn, that sketchy stop at that wet intersection. Those are lessons, not flukes. But too many people brush them off. I made it out okay, they think, and keep doing the same thing. The truth is, motorcycles don't give you a lot of second chances. So if you're only reflecting after you left some skin on the road, you're already behind. Riding better means learning earlier, not waiting for a hospital visit to humble you. Make a habit of replaying your rides mentally. Ask, where did I feel unsure? When did something surprise me? What can I do better next time? You'll improve 10 times faster and maybe never have to learn things the hard way. Because the best riders aren't just skilled, they're self-aware. And they know you don't need to crash to have a wake-up call. You just need to pay attention. Number 13. Thinking experience comes with time, not intention. One of the sneakiest beginner mistakes is assuming that experience is just about how many months or years you've been riding. I've got a full season under my belt. I must be experienced now. But time alone doesn't make you a better rider. Practice does. You can ride for 5 years and still take corners like a shopping cart if you never actually focus on improving. Real experience comes from intentional effort. Are you reflecting on your mistakes? Practicing slow maneuvers? Tweaking your body position? Learning how your suspension works? If not, you're not gaining skill. You're just repeating your first month of riding over and over again. There's nothing wrong with being a beginner. What matters is whether you stay one. Some riders with 10,000 miles are still clueless in an emergency. Others with 2,000 miles ride like seasoned pros because they actually pay attention. Skill doesn't come from the calendar. It comes from how much you care about doing it right. So stop waiting for experience to just happen and start earning it. If you've been riding for a few months or even a couple years, these habits might still be holding you back without realizing it. The truth is, riding doesn't reward laziness or ego. It rewards focus, reflection, and a willingness to admit you still got room to grow. Break these habits, and 2025 won't just be your best riding year. It'll be the one where you finally ride smart. If this hits close to home, let me know in the comments. What's one habit you broke that made a huge difference in your riding? Or maybe one you're still working on? Catch you in the next one. Ride safe, ride sharp.